it was announced on Monday night really, that Dmitry Bivol would be giving up voluntarily his light heavyweight world title, the WBC light heavyweight world title, in order to go ahead with a trilogy fight with Artur Beterbiev. Now, for me, there was a little bit of excitement because I love the Beterbiev Bivol. The first two fights were amazing. The trilogy fight, I think, will be epic because I think Beterbiev could very well be win or lose his last fight. And he was doing so well at one point in that rematch with Bivol that he kind of faded a little bit. And I'm sure he's going to be looking and thinking, if I don't do that again, if I can put it on him a little bit more. I think the trilogy fight has the potential to be the best because it's very rare in any trilogy that the first fight is topped. Sometimes it's been, Fraser Ali, first fight was really, really good. Second fight is kind of seen as, second fight was a good fight, but it's kind of seen as the weakest of the trilogy. And obviously the thriller in Manila, we all know about that. Gary Ward, the first fight was incredible. The second fight was really good. The trilogy fight, the third fight, was really good, but it wasn't as good as the first fight. So there's always kind of a fight there that you're trying to beat. And with this trilogy, the first fight was really, really good. I thought the second fight was better. And this next fight, this one could be the one that, takes the you-know-what. So I'm excited for the Bivol Beterbiev trilogy fight. But at the same time, I look at Benavidez. I look at that fight. And I just think, oh man, that would have been epic. That would have been absolutely epic, the style. Because I remember when Zurdo was mandatory for Dmitry Bivol. Now, Zurdo was one of those fighters where he can apply pressure if he wants to when he was at light heavyweight and at super middleweight. He was so much bigger than all the guys he was fighting, including, Dmitry Bivol. He's much bigger than him in the ring and in terms of just height. That I thought if he could use that size to good effect and maybe set a pace and take Bivol, take him out of his stride, so to speak, take him out of, his flow, so to speak. A bit like Alexander Usyk. If you can take him out of their box and set the fight at your pace, you're in with a good chance there of at least picking up some rounds or maybe even doing something there. And I thought Zurdo could have done that. He didn't. He chose to stand his ground and boxed with Dmitry Bivol. I truthfully thought that when I looked at Zurdo, I thought from a styles point of view, he might do better against Bivol than Canelo did. I was wrong. He didn't. Now, Canelo didn't do too good against Bivol, but I thought Zurdo did even worse. That was just a dominant display from Dmitry Bivol. I look at Benavidez, and Benavidez will just pressure you. He will. But he's very cute up close, as we saw against Dave Morrell. Morrell was finding it very hard to catch him at times. Very cute fighter up close is Dave Benavidez. Very, very cute. So I look at that style and I just think, oh my God, Benavidez versus Dmitry Bivol, that could be epic. That could be amazing. So in one sense, I'm a bit disappointed that we're not going to get to see that fight. But Mauricio Sulaiman, the WBC president, he's not best pleased. He's not best pleased that someone would have the audacity to give up his prestigious WBC title, which he's, knocked the prestige of over the last 10 years a lot by making some absolutely ridiculous decisions. But we won't go into that. Mandatories and stuff. We won't go into that. Berminster Verna mandatory, really? We won't go into that. He was saying in an interview that apparently Dmitry Bivol was offered $8 million to face David Benavidez. Now, that is according to Mauricio Sulaiman, who, again, the word of Sulaiman, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. I really wouldn't. Sulaiman has always come across as one of these guys, I've said it before, main character syndrome. He loves being, for whatever reason, the centre of attention with everything. This is a guy who has walked some of his champions to the ring. All he is the head of the sanctioning body. A sanctioning body which should be impartial. Why are you in the corner of your champion? Why are you walking with him to the ring? And with Dmitry Bivol, I think that with Bivol, it's a case of he wants to settle this score with Beterbiev. Beterbiev's not getting any younger. He's 40 going on 41. They'll probably make, I would love to know how much Bivol made for the two fights, because 8 million is apparently what Sulaiman is saying. How do we know Bivol didn't make that or close to it for the two previous fights? I'm not talking about combined, in general, because the Saudis pay really, really good there. If you're main eventing, you got to figure that you're going to make an absolute king's ransom. If you are seen as the main event, you're going to be well paid. And a trilogy fight, that's going to do excellent numbers. Again, the last Crescendo did 340,000 pay-per-view buys. That's really, really good. And considering we lost Dubois 2 days out, which is kind of when we really, see the peak pay-per-view buy rate. That's a really, really good side. That's a really, really good pay-per-view in my opinion. So Bivol and Beterbiev, the trilogy fight, the rubber match, that really could do great numbers. So again, I would love to have seen Bivol go ahead with his fight with Dave Benavidez, his mandatory. But at the same time, I get why he didn't do it. But Sullivan acting as though this is terrible, this is terrible. This is the guy, right, who all of a sudden now cares about Dave Benavidez when Benavidez was mandatory for Canelo for how long? And you would not call that. You just point blank refused to call that. He was mandatory for how long? You wouldn't call it. As soon as someone else wins that title, i.e. Dmitry Bivol, there you go, mandatory. This is a guy who wouldn't let Bivol fight for that title for 2 flipping years because of where he's from, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, this is a guy who plucked mandatories out of thin air for the likes of Artur Beterbiev, like Marcus Brown, who hadn't fought a light heavyweight since he lost to Jean Pascal, had one fight, a 10-rounder at 180 something pounds, hadn't fought a WBC sanctioned bout in however many years, and just plucked them to be mandatory for Artur Beterbiev. But for some reason, when he has an interim champion in Dave Benavidez, he won't call that for Canelo to fight him. He won't do that. When Tyson Fury was WBC champion and he was trying to fight Francis Ngannou, and people were saying, well, where's the mandatory? He's saying, well, it would be wrong to bring up a mandatory. Wrong to bring up a mandatory. Wrong. How? That's the whole purpose of the mandatory system. When Deontay Wilder was WBC champion, and we all know the situation with Povetkin, all that kind of stuff. Povetkin was his mandatory. He failed one test that got pushed back. He failed again. That was him done for the WBC. Anyway, Bermane Stiverne didn't have to face anyone. He fought Derek Rossi, a journeyman, in 2015. 2 years later, he hadn't fought, and he didn't look good in that fight. 2 years later, he hadn't fought East Wilder's mandatory. This is the guy who runs that sanctioning body, and he wonders why Dmitry Bivol wants to throw that title away and go ahead and fight Beterbiev for a trilogy fight, get this rivalry done, draw a line in the sand, rather than go and face Dave Benavidez. Although I would love to see him face Dave Benavidez, I can see completely why he doesn't. And I can see completely why. You see, I've said this before with the WBC. By doing these silly moves, right, with mandatories, with this, that, and the other, how are you kind of swaying people to fight for your respective title? If you think of it like this, if you are in the IBF rankings and you're mandatory challenger, you know within a year you'll have that mandatory fight. You know that. Same with the WBO, right? With the WBC, you've no idea. Could it be 2 years? Could it be a year? What are they going to do? Are they going to, prioritize me? Are they going to just chuck me to the side? Will they even call for me? Because the champion in my division is a bit of a darling. So will they even call my mandatory? Or when will they? Will I have to move up? Dave Benavidez had to move up in weight to become world champion again. To get you, well, obviously he never got a world title shot, but the fight with Morrell may as well have been that. But he had to move up in weight because he knew the WBC were never going to order the Canelo fight. And this guy is thinking, oh, but Dmitry Bivol, very counting my belt, how dare he? Is it any wonder? Seriously, I'm surprised he didn't do it as soon as he got it. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Sullivan, not best pleased with Dmitry Bivol, but for me, Beterbiev Bivol tree, I love it. I want to see that fight. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe as always if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.